Well, I mean, who am I? Who am I? Because I can't even record a show right now. All right, folks, look, we have a new guest, and she's going to get headphones and a microphone shortly because I just can't take 3 dominoes falling on me at one time. So they're going to have to share with her in a little while. But I'm going to introduce you to a young lady who is she calls herself, you know what, I'm going to try to remember, but the world's greatest record promoter or something. Oh, here we go. The great promoter. And for those of you who are watching it, oh, Tony, I'll let you do it. You know what? I keep forgetting. You know, you point it to that camera right there so it can see the cover of the book. Ron's going to adjust the zoom in there. And she actually wrote a book about the great record promoter. And her name is The Memoirs of Miss Linda Wills. Linda is a survivor and an inspiration, says Salt-N-Pepa. And Linda is a living treasure, says 6 minutes, Doug E. Fresh. And since she has a microphone and headphones on right now, Ron, I'll give you a minute so you can slide it over in that direction. I'd like everyone to put your hands together as we welcome Miss Linda Wills. Hi, Linda.
Thank you. Hello there.
Linda, you know, when I talked to you on the phone, I really liked you. But now that you're here and you're all in the cam and you join forces with my enemies over here, now I'm sitting there, I'm trying to figure out, do I really, really like you like I usually like you? So, Linda, tell me about you. Where you from?
Well, I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay, Linda, tell me where you're from.
I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay, Washington, D.C. has 4 quadrants.
Southeast.
Oh, you a Southeaster.
Berry Farms.
Really?
The real hood.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Said the real hood. Okay, don't get it twisted.
Look, you know how many people are clocked over in Berry Farms? All right, so look, did you go to DA?
No, I didn't. I went to Martha Washington because I wanted to take a trade to be a nurse. So I went to a trade school.
Super. And for those who don't know about Berry Farms, it's a historically, notoriously dynamic community with a whole bunch of beautiful people who came out of there. And I spent a lot of time in Berry Farms with the Patterson family back then. I was supposed to be an Anacostia Indian, and Hercules Patterson was my hero, and all those guys that played the Anacostia. And I was on my way there until the coach at Anacostia told me to go to McNamara instead of Martha Washington, where I was planning at first to take up a trade to be a nurse. Anyway, can you imagine me being a nurse? Like, you know, just working, you know, nurse, taking your blood and sucking it up. Okay. All right.
He'd be a little rough with
so,
yeah, he'd be a little rough.
Oh, you know I ain't rough. Don't be
But you know what? Actually, Roland does give a good massage.
Oh, okay.
He does.
All right. All right. Yeah.
Talk about it. All right. So I want to spend the rest of the month of February dealing with the history of our music for a couple of different reasons. One, because if we don't tell the story to the youngsters behind us, by the time other people tell our story, we won't be in it. And then number 2, I think that there's a lot of people who've contributed to this industry who haven't received their due and their recognition, both in front and behind the camera and the microphone. And thirdly, I also want to begin to galvanize some of these artists now, because you don't have the record labels like you used to have, etc. So you have a lot more people doing independent things.
Absolutely.
And that means independent money. So if they don't collectively start kind of sharing how they get someplace, then like it might be a little tough for them to get there alone. When we talk about the record business, I'm going to throw this out as a generic question. When we say the record business, what does that mean to someone in your position?
It means the business of music. The record business is a business. So it's more than just having an artist, you know, sing a song or write a song, but it's a business. It's a huge operation, and it comprises marketing, sales, promotions, management, the entertainer. There are a lot of variables that make up the music industry, that makes up the music business. They just need to learn about everything that the music industry is all about. For one thing, a lot of people don't realize that in order for you to really get a record play and for you to really make a record a hit record, you have to go to a radio station and deal with the program director. So a lot of people don't know about record promoters because we're like the people that's behind the scene that goes in and sit down and talk to the programmer and try to get the programmer to add your music to their playlist. And that's a very hard job because all the record labels, all the major labels, they have artists. And a lot of times they get first preference because they can afford to give the radio stations more promotions, like trips, giveaways, have the artists to come in, to perform. So I would like to tell the listeners that if you have a record and you really want to really make it in the record industry, try to sit down with a program director at a major station, which we call a P1 station, or a secondary station, which we call a P2 station. Go to colleges. A lot of colleges, they have radio stations, and they may give you an opportunity and play your music, but you have to get that record added to the playlist. It might take a month, it might take 2 months, it might take 6 months, but it's definitely a process.
So now, with all of the people screaming for this airtime, what is it that's going to separate one person from another, or is it just the discretion of the record of the radio programmer as to whether or not you get played? Is it really their decision to make?
Well, basically, if you have a following and you can sell records, so like if you are a known artist.
Hold that thought for a second. When you say have a following to sell records, what does that mean?
That means you have people that's buying your music already. Say like Alicia Keys, somebody like that's already established artist, 9 out of 10. They're going to get the airplay because the radio station knows that it's going to sell records. The reason why they play records is to sell the product. So some people, they may have a good record, it'll play. We're calling it a turntable hit because nobody is buying the record.
Now, is there a fee, or is it just?
No, it's free.
Oh, so it is free. It's not like you have to pay for it.
To get the
hell in the industry. Yes,
What?
Well, there's some verbals.
No, I mean,
there's some things,
people,
but,
may charge some.
but if you have a real good record, and say maybe like you're a go-go band, for instance, you may get first preference because this is the music that everybody listens to in the city. And the radio stations are supposed to ascertain the needs and interests of the community. That's basically what they're supposed to do. So, like Red Essence, White Boy, as they call him, Andre can go into a radio station and maybe get that record played because he's a part of the community. And a radio station is supposed to support the community. And if the record is good, and then you have people that's calling, the programmers or calling the request line, requesting the record, that can help you get the record added. And if you're already an established artist, 9 out of 10, your record is going to play anyway. Because the radio station already have a relationship with your record label. And they have a relationship basically with some of the well-known artists. It's not an easy thing to do to get a record played, especially if you're a new and upcoming artist.
Right, that's what I was going to say. How would someone that's new to the business, is trying to break into the business, get their record played at a station?
Well, first they really have to start in the street. So if you're a new artist, just don't basically go to the radio station like right away, but that's definitely a part of the process. But what you should do is like give your CD away, go out on the street, give it away, have flyers, put flyers on cards, try to do shows and get yourself a following. And once you get a following, 9 out of 10, the radio station may give you a break, especially if it's a good record. And they give you a break and give you an opportunity for them to put your record on the playlist, but it might be in a light rotation because records play in rotation, light, medium, and heavy, and then a recurrent. That means the record will play again like every now and then that's already been in heavy rotation for a very long time. So I would say go out in the street, get yourself a following, get some fans, get yourself a fan base, and just have people call into the radio stations and letting them know, we want to hear this record, we want to hear this record. We saw this artist here, we saw this artist there, he's excellent, he's great. And that can help you to at least get your record added to the playlist, maybe in a light rotation. So it might play at 2 o'clock in the morning. But eventually, if it's a good record and people keep calling, and people are buying the record, because the stations also check the sales to see whether or not your product is even selling anywhere.
So if the better it is, they'll put it on during the daytime where more people listen to it, opposed to...
Now, when you get drive time, your record really has to, be a very good record. It has to be something that the station really believe in. Because the stations the playlist is short. They may have 50 songs on that playlist. But you got hundreds of people calling the radio station or sending the record in,
Right.
you know, as an MP3, trying to get that record played, and it's just not going to happen like right away.
Right.
You know, so you just have to be patient and continuously work that station.
And like when you say that drive time, that's like the rush hour time that everybody's
Yeah,
on the
or
road.
morning
And-
drive,
right,
or
right,
afternoon
evening, right.
drive. You know, they're not
Mhm.
going to play your record then because it's not a strong enough record.
Record.
Because the radio stations, you know, they have to have a certain amount of listeners,
Right.
you know, in order for them to get advertisement from car dealerships and, you know, different places like that.
Right, right.
So they have to play records that they know that the community already likes.
Nice. Mhm, mhm.